Fan TV, Donegal 326, Meath 15 points. Wow, what a performance from Donegal. That was absolutely incredible. That second half performance. I mean, I thought we seen it all when Kerry beat Armagh and produced like an incredible, 15 points on the bounce or something of that nature. That I think 13 points on the bounce. In a 14 points from 15 attempts or something like that. Absolutely incredible from Kerry that was. But this was up there from Donegal in the second half, if not even better, to be honest with you, because I think they maybe hit two wides in that second half. That was absolutely outrageous from Donegal. Congratulations to them. They are in the All-Ireland final. They will play Kerry in 2 weeks' time. And you know what? The All-Ireland final is set to be maybe one of the best All-Ireland finals potentially ever. Now, in saying that, it's watch it now be like really cagey and nervy. And sometimes the games we think are going to be the best can often, both teams can cancel each other out. The defenses can get on top of the attackers. And, I remember with Dublin and Mayo down the years, you would always think Dublin and Mayo was going to be so rip-roaring. But when it came to finals, a lot of the time they were a lot more edgy and cagey. I'm only speaking from, as a fan of someone who obviously was watching Dublin in those finals. So, but look, especially with the new rules and everything else, it looks set to be an incredible, incredible final in 2 weeks. It could be one of the best games we've ever seen, the best All-Ireland finals we ever see, because, the way both Donegal and Kerry play football, I mean, it's going to be an absolute classic, isn't it? And look, Donegal were absolutely brilliant. There's no question about that in this game. Meath, they'll be very disappointed in the end. 8 points in the first half, 7 points in the second. I thought they played well in the first half. They were creating a lot of chances. They were getting a lot of opportunities. They were maybe rushing 2-pointers a little bit. They're a very fearless, they're a side that plays very fearless, very relentless. They, back themselves. They back their players. They were going for 2-pointers and they were really sort of adamant on getting those 2-pointers. And, they sold themselves a little bit short, but they were only 7 down, at half time, or 5 down maybe at half time. So you were thinking, look, they're more than still in this game. And they just need to start the second half well, which they did. They kicked the opening point of the second half. But it really was when that Oisin Gallen goal went in that Meath just completely lost their way and completely lost their heads. And they're a young side, young players. This can happen. Have seen this with this Meath side before. There's probably flashbacks maybe of of games with Dublin and Leinster down the years. I hate to mention it, but that was kind of what reminded me of a little bit, where Meath just lost their way, started kicking chances wide, not taking chances on, missing opportunities that they would have scored, in the last game and everything else. And look, ultimately for Meath football, it's been an extraordinary year. It's been progress. They've gotten to an All-Ireland semi-final. They'll be well in contention to win Leinster next year, if not the early favourites, if you were to call it right now. It's a disappointing defeat. It's a body blow. But look, Donegal are a serious, serious football team. There's no question about it. And for Meath, they're the next level that they need to try and reach. And they shouldn't take any... They'll take disappointment with today and how the game has gone. Myself and a lot of others thought that Meath would actually push Donegal a lot closer, given what Meath have done this year, beating Dublin the way they have, beating Kerry, beating Galway. And look, in the first half, they created chances, they created opportunities. This could have been a much closer game, but they just lost their way. And it's a young side. Robbie Brennan, obviously experienced manager, but maybe in terms of an All-Ireland semi-final like this. And obviously it's his first year with this Meath team. So you could see they sort of just ran out of ideas. But look, you have to credit Donegal. Finbar Rorty, a cornerback. Wow, what a performance. The tackles, the challenges, the turnover, obviously, that led up to the second goal. And Donegal were just outstanding in regards to that. Like, Michael Murphy started the game very well. Maybe should have got a yellow card for a bit of a body check on Sean Rafferty. Some were saying it could have been a black card. I don't know, but yeah, it was kind of bizarre. The referee just didn't seem to see it or didn't notice it. Maybe it was kind of very early on in the game or something of that nature. But look, aside from that, Michael Murphy was brilliant, wasn't he? I mean, that 2-pointer he scored with the wind as well, to bend the ball in the way that he did, was really, really impressive. Conor O'Donnell, I thought, had a very good game as well. 1-3, obviously gets himself that goal. Kieran Moore, very good. Oisín Gallen, as we were saying, gets a goal. And like for Donegal, the spread of scores, they weren't just reliant on one or two forwards. Like they were getting scores from everywhere. Even Paddy McBrearty comes on and kicks 3 points. And it felt like a brave decision at the time for Jim McGuinness to take Michael Murphy off, because you were kind of looking at it and thinking, there's still about 20 minutes to go here. It was like a 7-8 point game at that stage. You were thinking, this is a little bit risky here, kind of taking Michael Murphy off. But Paddy McBrearty came on and kicked 3 points. And like when you're able to bring players like that off the bench, when you're able to bring Dara O'Wheel off the bench, Orr McFadden, Ferry, Kayla McGonigal, who's back from injury, like Donegal are stacked. Like you've got Jamie Brennan on the bench, who didn't even get to come on. So they've a serious team, Donegal. The quickness in their play, the fluency that which they played with in the second half in particular was outstanding. They had some, a bit like me, both sides were kind of struggling off their own kickouts a little bit in the first half. Donegal definitely dropped a couple of short. Sean Patton, a few kind of went, and Meath were able to win the breaking balls. Meath themselves struggled big time as well in terms of kickouts with Billy Hogan. A few kind of going astray, a few going short that could barely obviously get out of the D. And Donegal were able to turn over, but the second half performance was absolutely outstanding. And it came when, it was a kind of like looking at the first half of the game. I mean, it was a weird one because both sides started really well. There wasn't really too many wides from either side. Donegal didn't kick a wide up until about the 14th or 15th minute, and then they kind of had this like 10 or 12 minute spell where they seemed to lose their way and chances were going wide. And if you were a Meath fan in that moment, you were thinking, okay, maybe there's something in this here, because Donegal were missing chances. But to be fair to Donegal, they steadied themselves and were able to kind of settle really after that. And Jesus, just some amount of attacking options from Kieran Thompson as well, scoring 2 points. There wasn't a huge amount of 2-pointers from Donegal as well. They didn't really need the 2-pointers, but they were a lot more patient, weren't they, with the ball as well, it must be said. Like in the first half, they were very, very patient. They were waiting for the right opportunities, and they were cutting through Meath absolutely brilliantly as well. And incredibly dominant in regards to that. But Jesus, like 20 points in an All-Ireland semi-final, like we saw last week with the hurling. Didn't think we'd see it in the football, to be honest with you. So credit has to go to Donegal in regards to that. And Jesus, Meath just completely lost their way, lost their heads, shots going astray, dropping short. And you could see in the body language of the players as well that they didn't quite know. It was like they'd been hit, with a massive left hook or hit by a train or something like that. They didn't know how to react to it. And it probably showed the inexperience of the team as well. Michael Langan was outstanding as well, 4 points from him. Very, very good performance. Brendan McCole as well in a fullback did a phenomenal job, I felt, as well. In particular, keeping Matthew Costello a little bit quiet. Jordan Morris, as we were saying, Finbar Rorty did absolutely outstanding in regards to that. Owen Frayne had a very good game for me. It must be said, he kicked some brilliant points. And he was probably one of the standout players from a Meath perspective. And the interesting thing is, all 6 of Meath's starting forwards did all score. They just couldn't get their key players on ball enough. Jordan Morris, Matthew Costello didn't really have the influence in the game that you would have wanted to see. Rory Kinsella was there. Keith Curtis had a decent game, but outstanding from Donegal. Very, very impressive stuff indeed. Running through some comments here. Stephen Connellan says Clifford versus McCall is going to be a great battle. Absolutely, it's going to be an incredible fierce battle. You think of some of the matchups already in there as well, like who's going to go on Michael Murphy. You think of the players that can come off the bench as well. Matchups around midfield, Joe O'Connor and Michael Langan maybe going at it. I mean, it's going to be fierce, isn't it? It's going to be absolutely fierce. And as I was saying before, it has the potential to be one of the best All-Ireland football finals we have seen in a long, long time. I don't know how far back you'd have to go, to be honest with you, but this could be like something we've never seen before. And wow, what a game that's going to be in 2 weeks. The demand for tickets is obviously going to be huge as well. What a game it's going to be. A2 says a bridge too far for me. Thank fuck for that. I'd be off to Antarctica if it was a Kerry and Meath final. Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with you there. I would have been off to the Bahamas or something. I don't know, maybe a trip to Belize or something like that. You know what I mean? Get out of the country completely. And look, Donegal have done the first part of the plan. They've taken out Meath. Now go and beat Kerry, please. Do me a favor and save the year. You know, Donegal. I said it this morning when I woke up to a few friends. I'm Donegal true and true now. You know, Donegal true and true. I love Jim McGuinness. Michael Murphy was my idol. Mark McHugh. The glory days of, I was going to say 1992, but they did beat us in that final, to be fair. So maybe we'll skip over that one. 2012, you know, the glory days of 2012 and everything else. So, yeah, no, look, all jokes aside, I will be hoping that they can win the final. I'll certainly be supporting them as a Dublin fan. But I don't know. It's so hard to call. Like, it feels like if both teams play to their potential, it could go a point either way. It just feels like, you know, if any team is slightly off it, and it's like, who's more likely to be off it? Kerry have been in this scenario, been in this situation more, so you could see them handle the kind of pressure of a close game a little bit more. But Donegal also have the capabilities as well to rip through Kerry's defence. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be such a hard game to call. And I certainly don't want to predict it now. Anyway, A2 says you just saw the confidence drain out of both Tyrone and Meath. Two teams at the start of a journey, while Kerry and Donegal are both seasoned and experienced outfits. And yeah, you know, like a few people did say that kind of in the build-up. A few people said both of these two could be very one-sided. I didn't think they would be as one-sided as they were, to be honest with you. I think both teams, both Tyrone and Meath, did underperform. There's no question about that. Like, both of them did underperform to how we've seen recently. Do you know that had they have been a lot better, and had they been more impressive, they could have gone and maybe made this game a little bit more had they've taken their chances, had they've kept their composure. But it is young players, it's a young team, do you know that way? And I think that you know, you could kind of see that in the body language of both of the teams. But look, great year for me, great year for Tyrone. They'll take the positives. I know for Tyrone, maybe it's a little bit kind of hit and miss. They've had, you know, Tyrone have been in this kind of place more recently. So, and their underage is probably a lot better. Meath obviously took a massive step this year. It's just, can you kick on from this now? Can you keep that team together? You have players maybe coming back next year, like James Connellan, maybe coming back from injury, Jack Flynn as well. So, you know, we'll see what happens in regards to that. Gaelic Guy says Kerry will win the All-Ireland 5 or 6, in my opinion. Donegal haven't convinced me yet. Finished second in the group and since played Monaghan, Louth and Meath. No offence, but none of them are the level of Tyrone and Armagh who Kerry played, in my opinion. And also says great performance, in fairness to Donegal. Yeah, look, it's an interesting way of looking at it. I mean, Kerry did also play, you know, finish second in their group as well, and they lost to Meath. Do you know what I mean? They lost to Meath in that group. Albeit, look, maybe it was, you know, it was neutral venue. It wasn't Croke Park. It wasn't a knockout game, but you know, Meath did beat that Kerry side. So yeah, like, it's I don't know. I think both teams are at a very, very high level, and I think, you know, we could be looking at extra time, possibly even a replay, which we haven't got in a long time. You know, since 2019, we haven't got a replay, obviously because of the changes and everything else in COVID. That was also probably a reason why. But I think it could happen. Do you know, I think it really could happen. I think Donegal have got more in attack. They've got more options. They've got more players who can do damage. Like, when you look at it, Donegal of Michael Murphy, you've got Oisin Gallen, you know, you've got Conor O'Donnell who can all kind of do the business. You've got Michael Langan bursting forward from midfield who can kick points. You know, you've got Kieran Moore in there as well. You've then got Patrick McBurty to come off the bench. I think Donegal have got more forwards, more attackers. But Kerry probably have the best forward out of them all in terms of David Clifford, who can, you know, is just unmarkable. There's nothing really you can do about his influence. Sean O'Shea is absolutely outstanding, obviously, as well. Paddy Clifford. So Donegal probably have more options. Kerry maybe have the better forwards. Midfield is probably somewhat even to a certain degree. Then you're looking at it from a defensive perspective, and, you know, neither side conceded goals this weekend. You know, and as well as that, like, both teams have kind of had very similar paths to the final as well. When you think about it, like, both have won their provincial championship. Look, obviously Donegal much tougher for them coming through their provincial championship. That does have to be mentioned. They had to play more games and everything else, so that does have to be mentioned. Probably at a tougher group as well. In terms of what they came through there. And yeah, it's you look at the quarterfinals, like both teams were down at different stages. Like Armagh were down by 5, Donegal were down by 7. They came roaring back with excellent second half performances, and then Cruise in the semis. So it's like both have been very similar in regards to that. They're both very, very evenly matched, which I think is great. And look, the final last year was very evenly matched going into it as well. But I suppose maybe with the old rules and it was two kind of teams that can play brilliant football, about Armagh and Galway, don't get me wrong, but I think with there being so much on the line, it was a little bit more cagey. Look, I think the game in 2 weeks will be somewhat cagey as well, but with the new rules and with the way that both of these two teams have been playing recently, it's very hard to see that. It's very hard to kind of see it, but there we are. Gerard says set up a very interesting final. And Gaelic Guy says just couldn't see Kerry being awful like they were against Meath, though already had a bad result this year. It's interesting. Like I suppose what's also interesting, is Meath, who were in the All Ireland semi-finals, like they beat Kerry, and then Tyrone, who were in the All Ireland semi-finals, they beat Donegal, isn't it? So both have had slip-ups against teams that they've beaten in the semi. So a little bit unusual there. Both sides coming in a very kind of similar way. And you couldn't call it, couldn't you? But yeah, congratulations to Donegal. Look, disappointing maybe that it wasn't a closer game. I thought Meath would push Donegal a lot closer. Like I predicted this to be a 2-point win for Donegal. I thought it'd be a lot closer. And watching certain areas in the first half, I thought, this is going as I expected. Meath were like that 2-pointer that Owen Frayne scored very early on. Like that was absolutely outrageous, wasn't it? To have the balls to sort of hit that very early on, and Meath were backing themselves. They had the belief. I think what happened was Oisin Gallen goal goes in. It goes from a game where you're still kind of there to all of a sudden it's dead and buried, and they didn't know how to react. They didn't know how to react at all. But look, that'll be down to Robbie Brennan and management to sort of pick Meath back up over the next couple of months. They certainly won't go anywhere. They've made progress this year. They've created some brilliant memories that Meath football fans have been crying out for. When you look at where Meath has been over the last couple of years, I think the most important thing for them now is just to kick on. Can they get out of Division 2? Can they win a Leinster title? Can they get back to this very day next year and maybe push on a little bit further? That's going to be interesting to see. But what an incredible final. We're going to have Jim McGuinness versus Jack O'Connor, Donegal versus Kerry, Clifford versus Murphy. The build-up is going to be unbelievable. We might have to do 2 podcast previews maybe, because there's really, really a lot to go through, isn't there? But there we are. Gaelic Guy says, I'm disappointed. Thought Meath would win by a point. Like there was a few people who thought Meath would win. There was, I've seen a few people kind of calling it. So definitely caught a lot of us by surprise there. But